Welcome to Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. War movies have a huge influence on popular culture. One movie will influence the collective vision of a war or conflict more than any history class. Some are bad, some are great, and the actual historical accuracy can have little to do with the enjoyment. Today I'm going to go through 5 of my favorite war films. This video is being done in collaboration with a few other channels: 8mm Mauserman, who proposed the idea, The Blind Sniper, USNA 98, Joe Morgan, and Hobo Factory. We aren't doing responses to each other's picks, but nevertheless, I recommend checking out their channels to see what they recommend. I have put links in this video's description. In making this list, I was really hung up on what I would count as a war film, because it's not always clear what should fit within this genre, as it is really just stories unified by setting. Within war films, you have stories following specific battles, specific soldiers, which can be from any possible service, a focus on generals, world leaders, or the civilian populace within the setting of war. So the story that can be told is completely varied. For instance, I like the movie Gladiator, and the opening battle is great, which is the conclusion of a war, and the main character is a general, but it's not a war film. Dr. Strangelove is a very funny film that has planes sent out to nuke the Soviet Union, but it's about an imagined war that could have happened, so it doesn't feel like a war film to me here. If I thought it was, I probably would include it on this list.
But if you don't get the President of the United States on that phone, you know what's going to happen to you?
What?
You're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola Company.
I'm not including anything from science fiction or fantasy, even though Lord of the Rings has a, well, race war.
Come on, Bill! Raise more!
And Star Wars is a war between a rebellion and an empire, so I'm trying to be selective in what I count, and even with this, it is certainly not exhaustive. In going over war movies I have seen and consulting with others, I have realized there are still lots of well-known or well-regarded war films that I have never seen, and frankly, some of the ones I have seen are due for a rewatch, which could change this list completely. Regardless, I have picked 5 of my favorite war films, knowing full well I have my own personal bias and nostalgia, so in no particular order I present 1917. This is the most recent entry, obviously taking place during the Great War. The filmmakers painstakingly made it appear as one continuous shot. The care they put into making this really shines through. I think it has many memorable scenes for such a simple story that's take this message over there, and brings in plenty of drama and emotion during this quest. I think the overall costuming and firearms on display throughout the film are all good. It doesn't have the most elaborate battle scenes by any means, but with how well it's told, you probably won't notice or care. If you like this movie and have not checked out the latest All Quiet on the Western Front or Dunkirk, I think those would be the most similar, given they are also recent films, and even though one is about the Second World War, they have the benefit of modern filmmaking techniques and cinematography to give a similar feel to the action. I do have a video about the latest All Quiet on the Western Front on my channel already if you want to check it out. Enemy at the Gates follows soldier Vasily Zaitsev as he becomes a national hero due to his sniping prowess during the Battle of Stalingrad. It has some memorable battles and good sniping scenes throughout, with a cast including Jude Law and Mario himself as Nikita Khrushchev. It certainly benefits, in my mind, from personal bias, as this was a movie I was excited for at its release and thoroughly enjoyed when it first came out. I've also always had an interest in Soviet history and arms in general, so it also helps get on this list in that regard. There are several notable scenes from this movie, like being issued a stripper clip of ammo and someone next to you getting a rifle, then being shoved into combat, which was duplicated in Call of Duty.
That's true! The one without the
If you like this, I would say check out Saving Private Ryan if you somehow haven't seen it. To be fair, probably the better film from an objective view, But I can't help but like Enemy at the Gates, and I also want to talk about some more unusual choices here. Most other movies about Stalingrad are foreign and somewhat forgettable, so I say you should also read the book Enemy at the Gates, which is full of various stories from the Battle of Stalingrad, and this movie story is just one of many told within. The Patriot. Look, including this on the list is one of the reasons I was saying that I am not counting off for historical accuracy, as this is an obvious amalgamation of several real historical figures boosted in an effort to create a mythic figure like some accounts of founding fathers. But as a film, I cannot help but enjoy the movie and get sucked into it whenever I watch it. It has a variety of battle scenes and a good use of all the production values a film anchored by a star can bring. It is one that makes me want to periodically go back and rewatch, as well as being referenced amongst my friend group regularly.
Tell me about Ohio.
If you like The Patriot, try Glory, which almost made my list and is probably on more lists than The Patriot. I was swapping the two in here as I was debating what to choose. Glory is really held back for me just because I haven't seen it in so long and really need to rewatch and reevaluate. But I can still say without rewatching that Glory is a great film about the Civil War with a great cast that really elevates the movie. Downfall is a movie about the last days of Adolf Hitler before his supposed death as Berlin is falling apart. Most famous for inspiring a meme about being banned from Xbox.
Mit dem Angriff Steiners wird das alles in Ordnung kommen.
Der Angriff Steiner ist nicht erfolgt.
I considered leaving it off the list as it has no real combat, but I am very interested in the history of the Second World War, and this story pulls in conversations from first-hand accounts of survivors from the famous bunker. How reliable all these accounts are can be debated, but I think it is really well done with some very good acting as well. Despair permeates the bunker as Hitler has his last meetings and conversations with other historic figures as the Reich falls apart. If you like this movie, you may want to check out Hitler the Last 10 Days as a companion piece. It's the same story with some of the exact same dialogue as they were pulled from the same sources, but oddly, most of the conversations happen over dinner in this one, and Obi-Wan Kenobi / Colonel Nicholson stars as Adolf Hitler, so that's a bit weird too. It is not as good as Downfall, in my opinion, but is an interesting watch to see how different creators approach the same story. Lawrence of Arabia is a well-regarded film, even outside of the war genre, and it is deserved. It is a wonderfully shot film with some great acting by Peter O'Toole in the titular role. At about 3 hours 40, it's lengthy, but has a compelling story and really builds up the mythos around T.E. Lawrence. Most of all, Lawrence is a joy to watch as he descends into a sort of confident madness. It contains several scenes that have inspired subsequent filmmakers, and look, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi again. If you like this, you may want to try Patton, as it also follows a charismatic wartime leader with a great performance turned in by George C. Scott, or of course Apocalypse Now, where Marlon Brando's character is kind of the final form of what Lawrence was going towards during parts of the movie. I want to say some honorable mentions that I considered putting on the list, as they're all good films, but I either haven't seen them in a long time or they didn't quite fit for whatever reason. First, if I included miniseries at all, Band of Brothers would be on this list, no question. An excellent series that is extremely well made. Also, the recent Catch-22 miniseries, which was a fairly good adaptation of the book, which is fantastically funny. The miniseries does not feel as rushed as the film adaptation from the 70s. Fury is the best tank movie I've seen, being suspenseful and dramatic with great combat scenes. It gets a little video game ridiculous at the end, but still a fun film. And finally, Letters from Iwo Jima was another one I had on this list at one point and was the last one I took off. A very well done look at the battle from the Japanese perspective. I could go on and mention others, as there are plenty of other great films, but I have to end it somewhere. Anyways, that is my list. Do you agree or disagree with any of the following? What are some of your favorite war films? Let me know in the comments down below. Maybe if there are some recommendations, I will watch them and do another list next year. Be sure to check out the other channels and their videos with links in the description. And if you are new here, please subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. Thanks for watching.